it's really interesting that like we've gotten to this point where creativity somewhat feels useless when you can monetize like the most simple human
literally
action.
Pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no limit to like what you could do. Like the fact that, like he said, like that's the worst thing ever is like hearing someone chew and then somebody else just finds it like what is it about it, you know what I mean, that like somebody finds like so enticing about that. They're like, oh dude, I love watching people eat.
Arguably, okay, so this is my question, right? This is actually going to be my first question. We're recording, by the way. So there are people that can't. Who am I to say I can't understand somebody that likes the sound of somebody eating when I also will listen to black metal?
Right. So it's like, yeah, it's different. It's like some people would hear that and be like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. Like, so I guess it goes both ways.
That's something I've accepted with my music taste is like so many people can hear the shit that I listen to and think it's like repulsive.
Literally.
Music I listen to, people would be like, oh, fuck no.
Like, how can you listen to that? Meanwhile, my parents put on Rascal Flatts or something.
That's what my mom, whenever she first heard like the kind of music I listened to, she was like, it sounds like someone getting ran over by a truck. Like, it kind of doesn't, but okay.
It's always the
awesome
best
description though.
Yeah. It's always the funniest like ways that people describe it, like the people that don't listen to it. Like, I even listened to, or I put my friend on who, like, he's not a metalhead, like, at all, but, like, I just started playing, like, some fucking slam for him, and he was like, dude, like, what is that sound in the background? Like, he didn't realize it was the vocals, and it was just, like, the fucking, he was like, that's a vocalist? Like, he's making, I'm like, yeah, dude. He's like, well, and then, like, the normie thing, it's like, whoa, you can't hear what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like,
how can you know what they're saying?
I'm like, no, you don't know what they're saying. I'm trying to like describe it to him, like, because he doesn't really understand. But I'm like, it's almost like another like instrument. Yeah, it's like another percussive 100%. Like element at that point.
Like most of the time, I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, but I fucking love it. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing too is like people can come around to it. You know, like my mom now, she's coming to like most of these shows and having a great time with it.
You say your like brother got like instantly into slam.
Yeah, it was so strange.
He's like skipped all the subgenres and just like slammed straight to slam.
When I was his age, it was like Linkin Park, like Sum 41.
There's like a path you took. But
he just went straight in. He was like, yo, listen to this band. I'm like, he's like Slam Worldwide. I'm like, okay. He's like what, 13, I think.
That's honestly sick.
It is sick.
Because like 9 times out of 10, you kind of have to like build up to it. Like no one's going straight into it. But like, I don't know. I guess your brother's just like a badass.
I'm impressed.
You know, sometimes it's like the right flavor. I remember when Gray Walker had our little hot sauce, we would get this comment from a lot of people like, I don't really like hot sauce, but I really like this. And then like 2 weeks later he'd be like, I've been putting it on everything, you know. And like it was a pretty, like, it wasn't like the hottest thing, but it was a pretty, you know, it's definitely not an introductory sauce. So but it wasn't like a very like vinegary type sauce. So maybe there's some sort of vinegary metaphor to make about some certain genres of music.
True.
Yeah.
I guess you could relate it for sure. Like how, you know, obviously the spicier you get, you know what I mean? Like that's how you like
it's
it.
An acquired taste.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that whenever you're like dealing with like different styles of music or different types of things, it's just like you just gotta like, if somebody's finding something that they enjoy and it's not hurting anybody, whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
I hope that we don't ever get to a point where there's like a live mukbang show or like live ASMR.
Oh my
but it would probably do well.
I couldn't.
Windchimes play a mixed genre bill with a mukbang artist.
I don't know. Dylan probably
if they like embrace the noise side, they get like you start getting
less
harsh.
Like all that like eating
and that like Japanese like violence music.
There's like slamming
with
plates
the
and the mics and shit.
I always see the video of the dude like it's literally just him and a snare drum on a table, and he's like literally just like going nuts, like just fucking slamming his head
and it's
off.
Like attached to like pedals and shit.
Yeah,
like in the middle of like a park in Japan, just like flailing around on the floor.
How do you even like start to get into that? It's like, or like explain what instrument you play. It's like, well, I play the snare drum. They're like, oh, what, like marching band? They're like, no. I just like scream into it and like.
I'm fairly convinced, and this isn't a bad thing. It'll sound bad because I know a lot of people don't like to talk about like ego in a positive light. But I think like when you're talking about like noise artists and performance artists, it's definitely like there's a big chunk of ego that has to go into that to even want to do that, to feel like, hey, I mean, in general, if you're going to get on stage and expect people to watch you perform at all, there's a little bit of ego, and that's fine. It's,
right.
A big problem with, I think, like, music in general and why it's so bland now is that we kind of shunned away ego. And it's like the most successful artists in the world
have the biggest ego.
That's what, it's rock and roll.
Yeah.
You definitely need like confidence to like
the confidence that you have to have to be like, watch me rip open a teddy bear
just
that
like
has while I scream at the top of my lungs with no microphone for 3 hours.
Yeah, that does take a lot of
this is a performance piece.
And
it's like, sure, maybe you could come up with some sort of like fabricated artist statement about how it's a reflection of modern society or something like that. But a lot of things it's just like, you just want people to look at you do something weird.
When you put it like that, I feel like I never thought about it like that, but it does make sense.
Again, I'm sure there's somebody out there that has like a genuine statement with their
like a deep meaning or whatever.
I haven't met them.
No. I have to assume, like, literally just thinking of that dude who goes nuts like on the snare drum and he's like going crazy. It's like, you just wonder like what like inspired him to do that.
Talk about bucket of piss or
I feel like a lot of that
it's
is
the
more
guy
like
I think
like
the
releasing
one-man
emotion.
guy. He has like a microphone that he has underneath like a bucket. He like slams it. Or are you talking about someone else?
It's like similar.
Okay.
It's literally he has like a mic and a snare drum and just one drumstick, and he's just like
it's usually on like a folding table.
Yeah. But it's like you wonder, what, like, how do you get to this point? It's like
it could also be going back to like listening to people eat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that sound is genuinely what that person finds pleasing.
Yeah, I guess so. But
I don't know.
I think
I still wonder though, like how do you even like?
I feel like for that instance, it's more like a
listen to a
therapeutic,
car crash once.
like a therapeutic emotional expression.
Yeah,
there
you go.
That for sure.
Just like
but
grinding on a table, just slamming a stick into like a snare for like half an hour. Like,
but the sound, like
awesome.
I just wonder like how he like got into it, like as far as,
like how he got the idea.
And there's also like the threshold of like, because like you have like those like break rooms where you could go into a room and just like slam stuff against the wall, right? But like when you're doing it as a performance, as like a thing for other people to view,
to witness,
yes. But again, what's the difference between that and just like 5 ding dongs on a stage making a bunch of like choreographed noise together in sync, right?
Yeah. True. Which I'm sure to some people, like, it sounds just as abrasive as like, some dude just smacking on a snare drum. I mean,
I think too is like, even if I don't like understand entirely that kind of stuff, I can still appreciate the
the work that goes into it.
For sure. Like that dude, he goes through it.
Goes
like
hard.
That performance is like not easy for him.
I think too, from the performance side of it, it's like it's not meant to make meant to make you feel uneasy too.
That's
like
true.
Not all art's supposed to be like
that's like what he
make
said,
you feel
basically.
good.
It's like a really like expressive, like emotional like thing for that guy. That's like
it connects with someone watching it. Like, what is happening right now?
I mean, there's a reason that people go see that shit. You know what I mean? It's just like you said, like anything else. I mean, there's people that love that. Like it's performance art or whatever. Like in its own way. But dude, there's always gonna be like people who will show appreciation, what I mean? Like in any capacity, like,
definitely.
for that. So
I think the trick is just finding those people.
For sure.
And I guess that's the big trick for any of us, regardless of what we're trying to do, whether it is
it's finding those people,
heavy metal or mukbang or
whatever it
or
is.
art
you gotta
or
find your audience.
Crocheting, finding the audience, and a lot of that, no matter like how skilled you are or how much research you do or all this prepping and planning, it always seems to come down to like dumb luck and something out of your control.
True.
That tends to help you in the biggest way.
True.
Like having a social media post.
I was gonna
blow
say
up out of
social
nowhere.
media has definitely been one of those things. It's like we didn't plan on it, but it just like became beneficial, like just out of the blue. You know what I mean? That just kind of shows like
the algorithm picks you up, and it's like,
okay, well,
cool.
you got fucking
1.5 million views on a TikTok.
Yeah.
Just threw out like, okay, this is something. We'll post it, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't expect it to
blow up.
Yeah.
Which it is cool. Is like I feel like that's goes to show, like, you know, social media can be like negative in a lot of ways, but then it can be positive in a lot of ways where it's like, oh, you might, you know, find a new band you never heard of before. You know what I mean? Like, I've found out about tons of bands through, like, you know, so it is cool in that way. And, you know, one of the ways that people, you know, you get yourself out there that way too. So,
and it's cool if like you're able to be a band on social media in a way that is like organic. I find that's like the hardest thing for me personally.
Yeah.
Is that like, you know, the music that I do isn't like fun or friendly. It's not like marketable. It's not like did I just make the song of the summer? You know? It's not like that kind of shit, right?
Base value.
Well,
so
who says it can't be that?
I mean, fair enough.
Literally.
But it's like, you know, it's like it seems like it's a different way to kind of translate like how do I put like what I do onto social media in a way, because I feel like it's not like quick or attention grabbing or like all like bright and colorful and like, nobody's gonna be doing dances to the shit.
Well, that's the thing. I think like when you compare metal to like other genres of music is the whole like attention grabbing. Like, you know, I wouldn't say that metal is like a niche genre, but like it is in a way. You know what I mean? Like,
in the grand scheme of it.
In the grand scheme, it is. Yeah. So I think that like for like take, you know, the TikToks that we're making, for example, like I'm sure there's tons of people like that saw it and then like heard screaming or like just heard like heavy music and they're like not interested, you know, scroll away.
Not for me.
Yeah, but then there's like the people that are into it that are like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. Like, so I don't know. It goes to show. Yeah.
I think the really cool thing recently too is that like I've seen our general realm of music become way more popular recently. And, you know, there's people out there who like, they'll be like, oh, you know, like they like don't like it. And it's like, well, what? So you just like the music because it wasn't popular? Like, you know, it's great. I think it's great to see this kind of music in general become more in the light, you know.
For sure. No, I agree. I agree. You definitely
like the younger TikTok kids are like discovering.
Yeah, and coming out to shows and supporting the scene.
Great.
Yeah.
You see tons of bands like, you know, even the shit with like Lorna Shore, them fucking getting
Tsunami.
Like over a million
was
listeners
like a massive
and stuff.
TikTok band.
Yeah, and it's like I might not be like a huge Lorna Shore fan, but even though I'm not, I love to see.
Yeah, I'm
that kind of
stoked to
music
see like
huge.
the type of exposure they're getting and the type
great.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it's definitely like you said, like metal is like
kind of on and up.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like there's always a place for metal. It's just finding the ways to interface with it online in a way, again, that I feel is like organic. But again, you know, no issue with Windchimes as far as it seems like it's just, I think the thing is just like be yourselves, put out stuff. And most importantly, I think the thing that works really good in your favor is that you seem to actually take time like putting together songs.
Yeah.
And like focusing on like making sure the music's good before you put it out there, instead of like doing the reverse where you'll have bands that are so focused on just all the other stuff and it's like the music's an afterthought.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And it's like
that too.
That's a problem I had like back in the day whenever there was times I struggled getting a band together before I was in Windchimes or even the band I was in before, where like you'd find a lot of people who like they like the idea of like playing in a band, but when it comes to like the work that goes into it, like they just didn't.
They weren't down for it because it is a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a job as much as it is. You know, anything.
Yeah, there's a lot you don't see or hear when you listen to a band. It's like there's so much more that goes behind that.
But once you do that, it's like a huge payoff. You know, once you actually you work on music and you play it live, you put it out. It's such a rewarding feeling.
It really is.
Seeing people that like enjoy it, like even for me, like like even seeing like 10 people like love something of mine that I put out, it's an incredible feeling.
That's the most rewarding part about it. Like I've said that, like, I talked to my friend who's like just now getting into drumming and like bridging like, into being a musician. And I'm like, it's especially being a band, like it's one of the hardest things you're ever going to do. Like,
it's tough.
It's tough. There's struggles and all that, but literally either being on stage and like you said, even if it's 10 people that are like getting down to like our music, like that's literally the best feeling in the world. That makes
Exactly.
it all worth it,
And that's why like recently seeing the amount of like reactions we've seen from like recent songs we put out, it's such a like an undescribable feeling.
Yeah, it's
like,
awesome. It's like wow,
it's so
there's people that like actually like this.
Yeah.
That I sat down like, because I feel like our songwriting, at least now, is becoming more like meticulous. You know what I mean? Like we like for this like new stuff, we want to make like every part like thoughtful. You know what I mean? Instead of like just we jammed this and it sounded cool, so like let's just roll with it. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or you have like one really sick part, and it's just like we just gotta write stuff to get to the part.
To get to that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like at least like me and Dylan like have tried to like sat down and just be like, okay, let's make this exactly how we want it. You know what I mean? Instead of saying, okay, well that was pretty cool. Like you'll come back and be like, yeah, it was good, but like I think it could be better or like different.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Especially after like listening back to it. Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes I will give him shit.
Dude,
I'm
sometimes
like,
it's like
because we'll like work out a part for so long, and then he'll be like, "Oh, like, I think it should be different." Or I'm like, Dylan, I'm like,
dude,
it's fine. I'm like, you're overthinking it.
I overthink so much of it.
Yeah,
dude, it's crazy because it's like, dude, no matter how many times I may revision something I wrote, I'm always like, but it could be better.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, hey, who's to say when art is ever really finished?
Yeah.
I
That's the
deal
thing.
with the same shit with Grey Walker, and where
Definitely.
it's just like, everybody. Maybe I don't know if Windchimes deals with this at all, but when you have metal, you have like a lot of people that want to get something out there. It's a very showy genre of music for all the instruments involved.
Definitely.
But it all has to come together and make a song.
Right.
So it needs to be like, sometimes it's like, yeah, that drum part's cool, but like there's gonna be like guitar and bass and vocals on top. It's like we need to.
It has to be cohesive.
Yeah, it all has to like dance together.
Right.
And you deal with a lot of that sort of stuff. And sometimes like whenever the guys are writing stuff, and like I'm like, this all sounds cool, but there's like no room for me.
Right.
So it's like, am I just gonna step away for 2 minutes?
Is this an instrumental track?
But like, what do you have in mind?
Yeah.
So there's you deal with a lot of that stuff, but it's cool. It's all part of the process, and it's like really cool to be in a position where you're with people that are like willing to be a part of that process. Instead of being like, "Fuck you, this is how it's gonna be."
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, I feel like the dynamic of the band is like really important. You know what I mean? And like finding a way that you guys all work together, like. And find like that's the biggest thing about being a band is like the chemistry of it. You know what I mean? Finding your guys' chemistry and like how you work, and then like figuring that out as a group is like interesting because like you were saying, I could be saying, oh, I really want to do this drum part right here, but it's like, okay, but is that going to take away from the riff, or like is that going to bury the vocals? Like everything definitely has to have its own time to like shine.
Yeah,
and especially in like. More like extreme like metal stuff. Like I wouldn't even say that we're like bridging on any like extreme metal, but like it's pretty intense. Like the shit we're writing.
No, definitely,
recently.
especially right now.
And it's more of like when you have like super like shreddy stuff or like just super fast stuff. It's it's kind of it's not like okay, I'm gonna take a drum break here and then a guitar solo here. It's more kind of like we're just like going hard like the whole song. Like So yeah, we've definitely been just like experimenting, I think, and our sound is definitely evolving,
definitely
changing.
With metal, one of the things that really sets most bands apart is like the nuance most of the time. And going back to like the social media thing, I think that's what can be really hard sometimes for like bands and metal to get noticed. Like whenever you need more than like 15 seconds to like really digest what the characteristics of a metal band is, because on the surface it is all kind of the same loud noise, whether it's going to be like slam or black metal or grindcore or melodic whatever. It's like you need to actually like sit down with it and be like, oh, okay, they do this kind of weird bass stuff. The drummer has like a weird kind of jazzy groove or a weird, or like on the flip, like he's more of like an industrial hard everything's like there's no swing at all. Every band has those nuance things, and that's what but it takes time. You got to like be patient. Well, with metal.
That is like goes to show like how with social media and everything, like how quickly like people's opinions are formed, like with the videos, you know what I mean? Like, because you know, like you said, it's like 15-20 seconds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody could like you can't really judge like a band in that amount of time, you know what I mean? So that's like, it could be another negative of like social media because everything's so
There's
fast.
a comment that we got. It was like, it was about the intro of 10,000 and Counting, and it was like, someone was like, I really didn't like the first vocals in the intro, but the rest of it slaps.
Right.
And it's like, I wonder how many like people maybe heard those first vocals, didn't like it, and I was like, whatever.
And just stopped
Yeah.
and didn't listen
It
to the
was
rest
like,
of the song. Yeah.
Which is wild
Yeah.
because it's like, if you'd think if they like the rest of it, they would
Yeah.
like that, because I feel
Yeah.
like that opening is so sick.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, personally.
it fits the vibe of the song
Yeah.
very well.
It does.
But also, I don't know, I guess if somebody...
People are weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think, well, it's not even just a metal thing. I think it's music or art in general. Like, I think to really appreciate it, you need to have patience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And some people just aren't patient with the way that they
Oh,
digest
100%.
material.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You
What's
know?
that? I think the whole rise of like short form media, like TikTok and shorts,
Yeah.
and that's it's just a product of the time. Like I feel like you need to sit down and have more time to appreciate something,
Mhm.
but you don't get that with like 10, 15-second videos.
No, yeah.
It's-
That's why people's attention span is literally like
yeah,
that.
goldfish. Yeah,
Yeah, if it's not grabbing their attention within like 5 seconds, 10 seconds,
they'll
they're
just
like,
go to something
"No,
else. Yeah,
they're not
Yep.
interested.
yeah.
So that's definitely like a struggle of trying to capture people's attention. you know?
Sometimes I'm even guilty of that.
Sometimes
Sometimes,
we
I'm,
all
even,
are.
sometimes
A
I'm even
blessing in a
guilty
way.
of
It's
hearing
like-
something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Also, like a blessing in a way, because if it does catch that person, like they're going out of TikTok, they're typing you into Spotify,
Yes.
putting you onto a playlist, listening to you, and like becoming a fan. So like it's like a blessing and a curse, where like some people it might not catch their attention in that 10-second span, but
You know,
there's
I don't
also
even
like thousands of other people
Yeah.
beyond them that it did catch their span.
I don't even think it's a negative if it doesn't catch a certain person's attention, because like, and then I think like, is that really like, did you want them as a fan? You know what I mean? That's like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Not to say like
Yeah.
who likes and doesn't like our music. Like I could care less, but
yeah.
you know, if somebody is not like interested, then like that's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
you mean you can't please them all.
yeah,
Exactly.
When I
course.
was at the ripe young age of 16, that was only a couple years ago. I promise.
It's probably like
No.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
it's recent.
I worked at a place called Taco Bell. May have heard of it.
Maybe.
Yes.
That's irrelevant.
Not
a
familiar.
little.
But
Anyway.
I had a buddy that worked at Taco Bell. His name was Antonio. He's a rapper, really good dude.
Mhm.
And like, you know, at that time, that was like when I was just starting to get into like making music and making beats and stuff. And then we'd just be shooting the shit while, you know, making quesadillas, as you do.
Yeah, right.
And you know, I remember like talking with him one day, and I was just like, you know, like I want to like put stuff out, but like, you know, I had never really like released anything before, and you get nervous about like, you know, like,
Yeah.
are people gonna like my shit? Are they not gonna like it? How do I?
Even if
Find
you've
the
been
right
making
people.
music forever, you still get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know, and like he said to me, he just like looked at me dead face. He's like, man, there's people that don't like the Beatles.
And they're like one of the most
Yo,
successful
Yeah,
bands
so
of
it's
all
and it was
time,
just
you
like,
know?
I guess you're right. Like everybody's not gonna like it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
One of the most successful. I didn't say one of the greatest bands
Yes.
because people debate that all day long, but you can't deny their success.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Very
yeah.
yeah. It's funny. It was actually I was just I had on last week's episode and also earlier today, I had my friends in Pummeled on,
Okay.
and we got into like a whole thing about the Beatles.
The Beatles.
The Beatles.
It's so controversial. You know
It's
what I mean?
crazy. You
Yeah.
hear like
Yeah, people's opinions on it are so like
all over the place.
Like, do I personally like the Beatles? Like, yeah, I like the Beatles, but people like regarding them as like the greatest band of all time.
They fly
like,
the flag for their like diehard in like
Yeah,
I will defend this band till the day I
Literally,
die.
there's
Your
some people-
opinion's
yeah.
wrong. If you hate
Yeah.
them, you're wrong.
Yeah, there's some
It's-
people
yeah.
that will literally be like ready to strangle you if you say you don't like the Beatles, which is like pretty nuts.
My wife loves the Beatles. I can't say I now like honestly like for me it's like I have nothing but respect for them. Like
Yeah.
you know it's like I don't like go out of my way to listen to them. But
Yeah.
like whenever I hear them it's fine.
Yeah, it's not like
offensive.
oh, turn this shit off.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
It must be like pretty interesting to like I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be a band that's like you're like the first big band.
Literally, like
You know,
Yeah.
like pop culture kind of starts at like Elvis and the Beatles.
Yeah.
And like regardless of whatever you think about them, it's just crazy to think like
you can't deny
of that
what
position.
they
And
did.
also too, like I mentioned this last week, where it's like everything that happened with the Beatles, like their entire career was like 8 years.
Yeah.
And it's like all of us have been making music for probably 8 years.
That's
at
insane.
this point,
That's
you know,
insane
more
to think
than that.
about. Yeah,
It's crazy to think about like
they
that
were-
much stuff happening in your
Right.
life in that short of a time.
Right. Well,
When
like you
nobody
said-
else had ever done that before.
Yeah, it could be like, you know, a band could be together for 8 years and they don't find success.
They
until
put out one album or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, I mean, it
So,
happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Like, can you imagine having like action figures?
Oh my god.
So no, I can't.
That's the thing too.
I
How many
can't.
different like eras and like the way their sound evolved too in like that 8-year span.
They had
It's
like,
crazy.
like 14 studio albums or something in like 8 years. It's crazy.
Well,
Yeah,
growing
that's
up,
pretty
especially listening to Beatles, like when I was a kid, like my parents and family would be like, "Oh yeah, they'd have it on in the background." I'd listen to it. I'm like, "Oh, the Beatles are cool," and I grew up listening to them, and then I'm like, it feels like they're just such like it's a lot longer than 8 years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Like
it's-
it's crazy.
It
Yeah,
does.
but yeah.
If you think about it, you're like, oh, they had to have been a band longer than that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But that is pretty wild.
Yeah.
And when I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like earlier this year, and like kind of seeing, you know, how much impact they made, and like that, like they had a whole like section, you know what I mean, like
Yep.
just dedicated to them, and it was pretty cool to see. Like even if you're not the biggest fan,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean, it's still pretty cool just to see. Like I don't know, I think that like anyone who's in a band or like does music like should just check out the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's, like,
I've
it's-
been there.
Yeah, it's a pretty
That's
cool
cool.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. There's a lot of history, and like I think the thing that's cool about a lot of music in like a pre-social media world, and I have nothing against social media. I know we just
Yeah.
keep swinging it back
Yeah.
around to it. It's just like how much people would try to do weird shit,
Mhm.
like all the weird merchandising and marketing and video promotion, all
Yeah.
this like. Because like that's how you had to do stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
granted, they had a lot more people like the fucking Beatles, and anybody else in that fucking building had way more resources
Yeah.
than a lot of us have.
Yeah.
But it's still like I feel like there's like a curse of like sure we can put something on to social media and like, you know, 1.5 million people might see it. That's fucking sick.
hmm
But also like it shouldn't stop there. And for a lot of people, they'll post something on to social media and 10 people see it and they stop. It's like, well,
Right.
we posted it, we promoted it.
Yeah. It's like,
Mhm.
and
what else?
that's it,
What else
you
can
know?
we do?
Yeah.
We cut there, and it's
Yeah.
like there's like okay, like
yeah.
there's like a lot more like effort and fun things that should be done.
I mean,
that just aren't
that
happening.
because he like handles a lot of like pretty much all our
I do
social
all that.
media.
Yeah, because I
promotions.
don't got the I'm still a boomer. I don't have TikTok on my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, he handles like all the posting and stuff. And
Yeah, I
mean,
post on TikTok nearly every day at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Just because like TikTok's something that you have to just keep throwing shit into the void and hoping that something sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
It's
like
like-
the first time that like
Yeah.
you posted a video, it only got a couple likes or whatever. So
Yeah.
you're like, well, I guess this isn't working for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just have to keep going.
I think it's
Sure.
consistency too. That's
It
Like
is,
sometimes
being
like we'll get
consistent.
like
Mhm.
we'll be stuck at like 300 views for a video, and then like another one will get like a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
Like just gotta keep throwing stuff in the
Definitely.
void and hoping that something sticks.
the algorithm
I
picks it
think
up.
I think that's the trick. Really, is just like what is it? What's patience and persistence.
Yeah, yeah.
There's another P
sure.
too. I can't remember. Productivity.
Yeah.
Staying productive, staying patient, just being
The
persistent.
3 Ps.
The 3 Ps.
I think that's a good thing to like keep in mind, like being in a band. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Because it's easy to get either like in a rut. Like I noticed that especially with like Place Blame, like my other band, is like we get into these ruts, you know what I mean? Like we'll be really productive for like a long time and then we'll see like a little bit of like success from it, you know what I mean? Just like, you know, gaining a few listeners or like
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And then we'll get like either complacent or just like get kind of lazy, to be honest, and then
Yeah.
just like stop. And I'm like, dude, we just need to like be more consistent, you know what I
Right.
mean? Whether it's, you know, making a post on social media, because like honestly, people, you know, we've talked about people's attention spans like this whole time, but it's true. Like, you know, if you're not continuously grabbing someone's attention, then they're probably going to forget about you, you know? So you got to do it. You just got to like make something that's like, oh shit, you know, they might have forgot about you, but they're like, oh, I'm going to go listen to this, you know? You got to like keep
Yeah.
people listening.
Yeah,
to
it's like as much as I like never want to be that person that's
Mhm.
like posting all the time,
Mhm.
I will simultaneously know that like
You kinda have
sometimes
to.
when I like it might take me being reminded
Mhm.
like 4 or 5 times about like a show flyer or about
Yeah,
somebody's
sure.
video or something to
Yeah.
be like, oh yeah, like
Yeah,
you
you might
know, 'cause
forget.
I might be like, I have like 3 minutes while my girlfriend's in Target or something random,
so you're
right? And it's just I'm
killing
just
time.
scrolling. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, like I'll check that out later.
Yeah.
Then you forget
Yeah,
about it. And it's like I
exactly.
need that reminder. So sometimes it's just kind
True.
of like, okay,
Yeah.
like I feel bad about like continuously posting music. Like my band Normal Creatures, we just put out a new song on Friday,
Mhm.
and it's like I made a couple posts about it, and it's just like, am I going to post about this again? It's like I don't want to, but I probably should.
Yeah. Because I know at least posting from like your personal page, you're like, wow, the 10 people that see my shit is probably like so annoyed.
Oh yeah,
but, like,
oh yeah, and it's always like the same 4 people that'll like it.
Yeah.
you know?
But you never know when you might get that one person who forgot about it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Or like
just-
me in my case, I'm like scrolling. I'm like, oh yeah, that show's happening. I forgot.
Yeah,
about it.
Exactly.
I
exactly.
completely forgot about it.
Shows, like you
But
said, is
that's
big.
probably like the 5th time they posted about it or
Mhm.
something. So,
But I forgot. I mean, there's been huge bands that I'm like big fans of or whatever that they dropped an album and I'm like, sick, I'm gonna listen to that. You know what I mean? Like when I get time, and then
when I get time,
goes
yeah,
back
and then
to-
it's been like 3 weeks, and I'm like, damn, I forgot about that. I didn't
Yeah.
even listen to one song. Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. You ever like think about a band that you haven't listened to in a while, and like you look them up on Spotify? Like I wonder if they've done anything new, and they put out like 4
Oh,
albums.
Yeah, you're like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, where have I been?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's crazy though. I mean,
It
that's the
is.
thing is like time's flying, and when you're doing stuff, I mean, like just being like a human being is very time consuming in
Oh,
general.
yes.
But you start factoring things like, okay, like significant others,
Mhm.
family,
Mhm.
being in one band, 2 bands, 3 bands.
Yeah,
Some people
like,
are
yeah.
wild out there,
Yeah.
And then like if you have like any other hobbies, just trying to like whether it's like practicing your skill or maybe
Mhm.
you have like a mukbang channel on the side.
Maybe you want to do some ASMR.
You
hey,
know?
that takes up time.
But
Yeah,
It does.
It just like, it all takes up so much time. So
Yeah.
like it's really easy for things to happen. Like for like a band to like your other band. Like
Yeah.
so it's just like something like it's not even like an intentional or malicious thing. It's
Yeah.
just like oh like we can't get together this week for practice. So it's
Right.
like 1 week, then all of a sudden turns into like 6 weeks. Out of
Right.
Oh,
nowhere.
it happens.
Yeah. So I think I always say like, oh, there's not enough hours in the day, but like
Yeah.
it really is true sometimes. It's like, fuck, I don't have enough time to like do this, and
Especially
that.
the
And,
older you get.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, you guys both have kids, and it's like I feel like we try to find like a happy, like balance of everything. And we've been
Usually
good.
pretty consistent.
Yeah, we've been pretty good on being consistent. Like if we
Mhm.
miss 1 week, we'll be like, okay, let's
The
make
winter's
sure.
been a little bit rough with holidays and shit.
Holidays,
yeah, holidays
yeah.
and everything. But
Generally, we could try to get together at least once a week.
Yeah.
yeah,
On
Yeah.
Sundays.
in some capacity.
yeah. Well, and Christmas and New Year's Day both
Yeah, that
being
was-
on a weekend.
Yeah,
It's-
that was rough.
Yeah, which is when we practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've done a pretty good job at like staying consistent. So that's like important. And we're in like the writing stage right now,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're going back and forth between like, laying down some demos. Like I finally have like a little studio in my house that I can like we can sit down and, record guitars and stuff, and it's cool. So we want to take our time, but we're like trying to be productive. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's trying to find like the middle
Sure.
ground between that.
Yeah, it's hard. You don't want to overwork the dough,
Mhm.
Sure.
as they say.
Right.
You're just trying to make a pizza.
Yeah.
Not every. It's like the thing that I struggle with, especially when I was younger. I don't, not so much anymore.
Mhm.
Was like I felt like every single song that I made had to be like the best thing I've ever done.
That's
Right,
my
right.
problem anymore,
Yeah.
dude.
And it's
Like-
just like sometimes a song could just be a song, and like
Yeah.
my opinion of what's good is gonna be totally different from what somebody
Yeah.
else likes.
That's
Especially
true.
like
when you're
Grey
like
Walker, some
writing
of our
a full
like
album too.
like some of like the songs that people will ask us to play are like my least favorite fucking
That's
songs.
always the thing too. It's like, wow, I don't even like that song, and people are like, dude,
Please
when
play it.
yeah, you guys
Please
play this.
play
I'm
it.
like, there's a reason we don't play it. It's like I don't even fucking like it. Like, I know how that goes.
We have
For
this
sure.
one song in the last EP that's like a little bit more like post metal, black metal. It's like kind of like a Death Heaven song, and it's like one song that like people occasionally come up to us and I ask us about playing it. We've never played it live.
No.
Is
It's
that
just
the title track?
no,
Alone
it's
in the Room?
unforgivable.
Oh, Unforgivable,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's definitely been my problem is like the whole thing where it's like, it's like, yeah, I'm like the best I've been so far as a musician, but like, I'm always like, this could be better. This could be better. Like,
That's the
I could be
constant
way
battle.
better.
Constant
Like,
battle.
And it's like, you have to like, at least something I try to remind myself is like, you have to remind yourself. It's like, it's definitely good to always make sure that like you're trying you're like trying to get as good as you can be, but like if you keep like being like, oh, this is in a negative way, you're like, oh, this could be better, then you're gonna start beating yourself up.
Yeah, you're never gonna make any progress.
You're never gonna release anything.
Yeah.
It could always be better.
Yeah.
If you're listening to something and every time you hear it, you're like, this could be better, then it's like
you'll never get to put anything out.
I've like kind of tried to like mature into this mind state where it's like, okay, what I'm doing now, I know that I'm doing the best that I can right now.
Yeah.
This is a reflection of where I am now.
Yeah, for sure.
And hey, you know what? Like, if we continue to play this song and in a couple years we've changed some things, if we want to re-record it, then we could do a new reflection of what this what this product is, if it still means that much to us. If it hasn't turned into one of those fucking songs that like I liked enough to release, but now I fucking hate it.
I don't want anything. I don't want to play it live. Like
so
I think as long as you're making like your best effort, you know what I mean? If you're like half-assing it and you're thinking, well, maybe this could be better, then like maybe it could, you know what I mean? But like if you're actively trying, like I think for you, like that's the thing. It's not like when you come to practice, you're like not trying, you know what I mean? Like you're fucking doing your best, but then you're overthinking it like, oh,
dude, I overthink it constantly. That's something I'm trying to like remedy.
And you also think that you're like 3 guitarists in one.
Literally.
Because it's like I try to.
He wants like all the harmonics and like leads, like just to be there, but like he can't do it on his own.
Bro literally thinks he's a whole backing track. And then he's saying like, because you got your looper pedal, you're like, well, maybe if I do it the looper, I'm like, dude, you're just making more work for yourself. Like for real.
You're just one guitarist.
Literally trying to do the job for 2, really. I mean, because we were so used to having 2 for a long time. So I think that's like another adjustment we've like been coming around.
I think it really just is just approaching writing differently. Because you can make one guitar sounds fine.
You can. But I think it's a combination of like the way that we've been used to writing, because you have 2 people's ideas, you know what I mean, coming together,
and our taste too,
and the taste. It's cool to have 2 different guitarists or just like 2 people writing instrumentally, because it's like it just adds more to it.
That's the thing I always found like when I think about like Windchimes. If somebody was like describe Windchimes in one word, I would say textures.
Okay.
Always like a lot of layers and textures in what you're doing. So when you remove a guitar player, you're removing, 1/4 of your musical component, 1/5 if you want to include vocals as a musical component. That's the argument. But it's like, okay, so you're removing like a whole layer. That doesn't mean that it's going to be better or worse,
but
it's just a different way to approach things.
It's going to be a little bit different. Which I think definitely plays into how we're approaching like the new stuff. Because we were determining, okay, do we want to try to bring someone else in on guitar? So we, tried a couple people out, but it was also like the route of, music we were taking. We're like, oh, well, we kind of want to do something like a little bit simpler. Like we liked a lot of the stuff that we did in the past, but I think, like the more death metal-y kind of like, just like straightforward stuff was like, okay, are we going to take that on? Is that something we're going to like do,
Sure. There's always the mentality of less is more. So if you do pull out an element, it could like open up a whole new world of possibilities, because you're actually simplifying the process, and there's no more of this like, it's one less thing to wonder about if it could be better or not, or be different,
Yeah, because when you have like obviously rhythm guitar and like leads, and like who usually played the leads? Like, were you playing the leads?
Larry usually did, but like
you
I played leads on certain songs.
Okay. He wrote a lot of them too with the newer stuff.
And the last EP, because the first EP was like I joined the band whenever the first EP was like mostly written. So like, and I was on bass, so like, and I wrote like bass grooves and stuff. But like in the second EP, it was like I wrote a lot of the leads. Larry played a lot of the leads other than like a song or 2.
It was just easier for Larry because he has the giant fucking pedal board.
Right.
And he wasn't.
I didn't have any at the time.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Like I was very newbie at the time. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think like in terms of like rhythm and lead, like it's hard to like, find like where you want to go, especially now. Cause like I'm sure like even when we were doing that in the studio the other day, like, we're writing this rhythm and then we're like, oh, this lead would sound really cool here. But it's like, well, how we're gonna do it, But
Yeah.
we were also saying maybe we could do something on the record.
You could do stuff
in
on the record
studio,
Exactly.
and then
have
do
it
it differently
live.
live because
Yeah.
it's always gonna sound different live.
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as
Absolutely.
I feel like as long as it's not something that like makes the song, you
Yeah.
can get away with like
Mhm.
not doing it live.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that necessarily like the live interpretation needs to match the studio version 100%. I think that's kind of a thing that happened with modern music, not just metal.
Yeah.
That's kind of not like healthy
Yeah.
for the genre.
For sure.
At least like
Yeah.
now, for like I would say like 5-10 years ago, I was probably way more bullish on this and being like, this is a huge issue. But
Like,
now
it
there's all
needs
these
to
young kids that are
sound-
like grown up listening to all this like crazy stuff, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Thinking that like the faceless is 100% organic, and now they're
Yeah.
actually playing like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's never gonna sound the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then it comes to like
Also, a lot of backtracking and stuff when
That-
it comes to that
yeah.
stuff.
yeah,
exactly.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, there's a lot that goes into, especially like bigger bands, whatever they may be. But there's a lot that goes into it that's not like it's not even possible to like replicate that live.
Oh, yeah.
So
Just like the stuff you do in the studio, it's like how you'd need like
the
I don't know,
number of
the-
effects and like everything, especially on the like I said, makes me think of like bigger artists because they're hundreds of thousands of dollars like productions, for these albums, and it's like I don't
yeah.
even think it's possible to like replicate that live.
No, not with one or two people.
No,
It's-
yeah. It just depends, But I agree with you on that. Like, I don't think everyone should think, oh, well, there wasn't this little part of the song that was on the recording. So, like,
never really
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I've talked with people that are like, I've heard people say like, I don't like going to shows because it doesn't sound like the CD.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Huh.
crazy.
And
The
it's just
shows
I
are like
guess-
the best way to experience.
Yeah,
it.
I
You know,
agree.
And it's like, for me, it's just like, I definitely am someone that prefers a live experience, especially
Definitely.
if it's like guitar based music,
Yeah.
Yes.
to a studio experience, because
Yeah.
it's so hard to even trust what I'm hearing anymore,
Yeah.
especially with like a lot of the bigger bands.
Hmm.
So it's like, I'm not going to give a fuck about this band until I see it live. You could send me all the links you want, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely been a couple bands for me that like I heard their recordings and I wasn't even like crazy about the recordings. And I saw them live and I was like,
Dude, that's happened to me.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like them.
Like I like Frozen Soul live more than I like Frozen Soul on
Yeah.
album personally.
And that's cool. That just means they put on a fucking
Yeah.
Or
badass
bands that
great
you
show.
shows.
do like, but when you see them, it's like fucking like mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too. Like Kainashi was
Yeah.
like that for me. Like
Yeah.
they're an amazing band, but like, and I know that a lot of people have felt like this too because they're not, your ordinary metal band. They're like a little bit. They do shit that's like a little bit different.
Yep.
And like, I wasn't a huge fan of them like when I first heard them, but like then I saw them live and I was like,
That's what I
fuck.
tell everyone about Kainashi.
Yeah, like
yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to see them live
Have
because
to.
like they put on a fucking great show and
They're
just
massive. Live
everything
too,
about their
just-
performance, their sound, their energy, like everything, just like
Mhm.
definitely makes it like, wow, this is
Yeah.
like, I get it now.
I feel like that's
So-
one element too you miss out if you just listen to music. Like you don't get that energy.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
energy,
Aspect of
dude.
it,
And
yeah.
people's
Mhm.
live performance is
Even like Noel too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
when I saw
Oh, yeah.
Noel
You've been
live.
telling
Dude, yeah, we both
It
saw
was
no, yeah, it
nuts.
was incredible.
Yeah.
You told me like 3 times, like you have
Yeah.
to see
You
it
have to,
because
yeah.
you know how much I love like to
Yeah.
see that energy of the
It's
live.
very
performance.
inspiring.
yeah.
Very inspiring.
Hell yeah, that's definitely that a band
Performance
on
really
my
good.
list.
Yeah, you need that energy, and I feel like with a lot of the conveniences of modern recording technology,
Mhm.
you're losing that energy.
For
And
sure.
also,
sure.
when you have all of these bands using the same dozen plugins, it's like
Mhm.
every single recording sounds the
Sounds
same.
the same. Yeah.
You know, you're losing all of that individuality, but
Right.
like you will get that in the live
Definitely.
space.
For sure,
Sure.
for sure. That's always like it. I mean, I know for us too, like we want when it comes to like production and stuff, I know we want like a very like raw, like kind of sounding thing, like
Yeah, we don't want it to be like too like.
over process or
Yeah.
something. Like that's how I've always been like personally, especially with my drums, like
Yeah.
I'd rather have my drums be like a little bit sloppy but sound real instead of like
Yeah.
sounding, it might sound super, processed or whatever, and like every hit is exactly where it's supposed to be. Like I like a little bit of like rawness too, you know what I mean? It just sounds more just real that way.
Yeah, I
So-
think that, there's like, if you can get into a place where, you know, all of the musicians are locked in, like you don't need to do click track type stuff. And it's like, regardless of how you feel about like a band like Metallica or even like Pantera, you know, it's just like Pantera never recorded to a click in the studio.
Yeah.
It was all
Impressive.
just recorded. And
It's
insane,
impressive.
but they have those crazy grooves and swings happening musically where it's like that just sounds so nasty, and it's because it's off the grid. It's like that
Most
weird
people,
like makes your like head go. What the fuck was that?
I think Slipknot for their like self-titled first one, I don't think they recorded to a click either.
Well, the crazy thing too, Car Bomb doesn't record to a click.
Which is fucking
that's
crazy.
crazy.
I don't understand that.
I'm sure it makes whoever is editing and like producing that a living hell. But
Yeah.
Well, I think they, I think that they might do a lot of their own stuff.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
production
that
wise,
makes sense.
I feel like they have to. It probably is not a producer nuts.
I
can't do
forget
this.
that. I
quit.
I quit.
don't remember homie from Car Bomb's name, the drummer. He's the funny hair.
Yeah.
That dude plays in time signatures that don't exist anymore.
No.
That's what I'm saying. It's so nuts that like even
Some
being a
Egyptian
drummer,
shit.
like I can't even fathom like there's parts where you literally can't even groove to it. You're like trying to like catch like a beat and you're like what? I can't.
It throws you off.
Yeah, I can't. I literally you can't even groove to this, but like it's so nuts that I don't know.
And like that's a band that like I had been wanting to see live forever.
I need to see them
I
live.
finally saw them.
I haven't seen
They
them.
opened up for Periphery at
Oh,
Stage
shit.
AE.
Oh man.
And
When was that? Was
that
that?
was-
I missed that because
that
I was going to
maybe
go to
like
that.
that was a while ago.
Was it a
Maybe
while
like
ago?
4
It
or
was a
5
while
years
ago.
Okay.
You know, it was so funny because it's like, yeah, Periphery's a fine band, but they're like one of those bands that has like, they somehow have like curated like a fan base
Their
of
fan
people
base,
where
yeah.
it's like, this is the only thing close. Like somehow they like Periphery and no other metal bands.
Yeah.
There's bands that happen like that. Like Every Time I
For
Die
sure.
was one of those
Yeah,
bands.
they have a huge cult following.
Huge
yeah.
people that don't like metal or like
Yeah.
Tool, which
Yeah.
is on
Yeah.
another you know, it's
Right.
like I have a friend from high school. Shout out to Eric. The only band that he likes, period, is Tool. It's been like that since we were in high school.
Which is
And
crazy.
I feel like there's always
it's
that
a
one guy
weird
from high
fucking
school.
band to be like,
Yeah.
that's the one
That's the
band
one
that I
band.
like is Tool.
Yo, real quick though, their fan base is like, and it goes to show like how big these fan bases are and how dedicated like some of them can be. Apparently, there's I don't know if like anyone else was aware of this. There's like a Facebook group that's dedicated to, I guess, when Tool plays live, they launch like confetti like out when they play live, and people collect it.
That's
So
crazy.
there's a whole page dedicated to like people collecting the confetti from their shows.
That's crazy.
Because I guess like certain ones have like they're like reflective on one side, but then it has a pattern on the other, and you have to like line them up to like make a pattern.
That's crazy.
So people are like all about, it's like that's wild to me. Like that's like how dedicated a fan base can really be. You know what I mean? It's like
And it's
It's
also,
crazy.
it's a fun little like organic trick that like that band doesn't have to do that.
no,
But it's
no,
cool that they do it.
They
Yeah.
do it just to fucking do it.
It's cool that they do it. But
Yeah.
oh my god, what were we talking about?
You were talking about
Periphery and
Yeah,
Car Bomb
yeah,
opening that show. It was just funny because like everybody was standing around like, what the fuck is
during
happening?
Car Bomb.
Car Bomb,
Yeah.
yeah.
I could
Aggressive as
imagine.
fuck,
I
yeah.
can
Yeah.
imagine.
And like they were good, you know.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
They were like intimidatingly tight.
Yeah, that reminds me of. There's this one video I saw. It was Deaf Heaven opening up for
Oh,
Coheed
yeah.
and Cambria,
Was it?
and they panned
were
to the
playing
entire
that
audience,
bullshit, yeah.
and they're just like
Everyone just like
Yeah, no movement at all.
not even like head bobbing. They're
Yeah.
like, it
the
was
funniest shit ever.
ridiculous.
Well,
to
that's
see.
what-
It's-
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I was.
Coheed's another band too. There's people I
Yeah.
know that like I love Coheed and Cambria. I'm like, oh, what else do you like? They're like,
Mhm.
what?
Yeah, I'm
No,
about to be the
I
worst.
love
I gotta
them
go
too,
to the
but-
bathroom.
Oh, you're good. You go. You remember where it's at? You're not even on camera right now. Nobody will even know you're gone.
You could have just not said anything and just left
Just
secretly.
disappeared.
But so what I have to know, like what the crowd reaction was like when Car Bomb was playing. Like, did it
So-
seem like certain
Probably a
people
lot
were
of confused
vibing, or-
people.
So
Like,
I remember there was a lot of confusion, and there was
Mhm.
also some freaks there,
Mhm.
like me, that had probably been wanting to see Car
Oh,
Bomb
yeah.
forever.
oh,
loved it.
yeah.
But I remember I was there with like a group of people, and
Mhm.
one of the people that was there was like my buddy's buddy who was there like for Periphery, and he was just
Mhm.
like, "Man, this fucking sucks."
Was there like a pit or anything? Was there a pit?
I don't really remember. Probably,
Dude,
probably
how
some
do-
kind of a little.
How do you mosh to car bomb?
It wasn't like a. It wasn't like a.
Just wildly
Yeah.
punching people.
It definitely wasn't like a total like disaster or
Yeah.
train wreck. You know, like,
Yeah.
people
You can
got
just
it,
tell it's a
Yeah.
little bit weird.
but yeah, you can just. It's just so funny where it's
Yeah.
like, you know, my buddy's buddy. You know, it's just like he's somebody that likes heavy music, but that's just like over his head.
Yeah.
But like periphery works.
Yeah.
It's like if you have like a locked in time signature that people can understand
Mhm.
and clean vocals, like
Yeah.
you're solid.
And the funny thing is, like, Periphery, like, I like some Periphery songs too. Like, even their earlier stuff, I
It's
like
not
a lot
bad,
of. But like people will call them like progressive. Like, I don't even really think they're like proggy at all. You know what I mean? When you look at like real prog
Well,
metal,
I mean, every subgenre gets kind of taken advantage of at one point.
right?
Like,
Yeah, I could
is
get,
hardcore really hardcore
Right.
anymore?
Yeah.
I remember
That's
somebody.
why I
I
hate
remember.
genre
I remember.
sometimes.
Fuck, like back in the MySpace days,
Mhm.
like hearing somebody being like, "Yeah, I'm like really in the grindcore now," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, like what?" They're like, "I wrestled a bear once,"
You're like,
and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so now it's happening to grindcore."
Yeah.
You know, it's
They're
just like.
gentrifying.
Which I
our
mean,
shrine.
you know, no hate on Iwabo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, my point with Periphery was that, like, you know, they're not even that, like, out there, you know what I mean? When it comes, like you said, it's pretty straightforward, like, you know, clean vocals, they have some screams, but, like, the time signature thing, like, I mean, you compare, like, Car Bomb to, like, Periphery, like, does it make sense for them to be together on a show? Like, in some way, I'd say yes.
I feel like Periphery is more along the lines of like that gent sphere.
Yeah, it's like genty, you know what I
where
mean?
it's
But
like progressive, but it's
Yeah.
more along the lines of just like standard metalcore.
yeah,
Yeah.
their drummer,
Formulaic.
like their drummer
Formulaic.
is super sick.
Oh,
He-
yeah.
he plays in like some really cool time signatures. But you compare that to like what Car Bomb, like the time signatures they play in, it's like not even.
It's
Yeah.
like you
Comparable.
take. I feel like when you have a band like Periphery,
Mhm.
the way I would describe it is like taking like aggressive music
Mhm.
and just like scrubbing it down with a Brillo pad,
Making it a
like
little
getting like
cleaner.
taking all the
Smoothing it
grit
out.
off of
Yeah,
it, making
so
it
it's
all
slow
nice and
cleaner.
shiny,
Yeah,
and you know.
for sure.
I
Which
really
is
like
cool
their
on its
side
own.
project Haunting Shores. You ever listen to that?
Oh, I've
Oh,
heard
yeah,
of that.
that's,
yeah.
It's like-
Is it
that's,
instrumental?
It's instrumental,
Yeah.
but they have like a lot of like guest performance like for vocals.
Oh yeah.
And it's like kind of like proggy black metal.
Uh,
It's kind of weird, but I
Oh,
really
yeah.
like it.
Cool.
I think it's like their guitarist Mark's project.
Yeah.
Does Misha do anything in that? Their
I don't
other
think so.
I don't think
okay.
so.
Because I think he has his own like side
He's-
project. too.
He used to have Bulb.
Bulb, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, like the amount of shit they've done. Now, like Matt, their drummer, has the whole fucking get good drums.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's- I use them a lot.
Oh yeah, I use them too, baby.
Yeah, they sound great. He's
Yeah.
just getting.
I
into
just
too.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got into the whole recording setup, which like has been like, especially currently, dude. I messaged a chat.
messages.
Dude, it has
Oh.
been.
So confused.
I have had
We've
like
been
because
tech
like,
support.
dude, I've been incredibly busy. Like the past like I don't know month, I guess.
hmm
And it's like I just got the computer built, which was its own
Oh.
adventure.
That
And
was
then,
another 10 questions. He's like,
exactly,
"How do I
another
do
10
this?"
questions, dude. And like learning a
Gavin's just
DAW, learning like to program stuff while not having much time at all to do it. That's been
Yeah.
like such
Which is
a
funny.
fucking
I like
hassle.
text the group chat to like confirm dates and stuff. Now I just get like nothing from everyone.
And then Dylan comes in.
yeah, several hours later, Dylan will come in like,
What the fuck?
how do I do this? What do I do this? How the fuck is this working?
He's like-
I can't figure it out on YouTube.
He'll be
He's
like-
like tagging everyone.
Yeah,
or, like
he's
the
like, "Dude,
dog.
I think my computer's broken. I think I fucked up. I got the wrong thing. I got this and that.
I
And
bought the wrong part.
Yeah.
Then all I had to do was like
Sorry.
switch to a different driver. Like, oh, I'm good. Never mind.
Never
yeah,
mind, I'm good.
Gavin's like, all you have to do is press it down. He's like, I did press it down, but it didn't
Oh,
go
the
in.
RAM stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the RAM stick.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
trying
Dude,
to
I
build it.
because like I was like fucking like trying to like
Watch
because
some
like
YouTube videos.
dude, whenever I'm
Yeah,
like
for real,
putting
dude.
computer parts in, I'm like, oh, they're gonna break. I'm like trying to push it in. I'm
yeah.
like, it's
It
gonna
is
break.
definitely
And then like
scary.
all I had to do was like fucking
Yeah, I know.
smash it down in
My
there.
last build I did, I had to put the RAM sticks in, and like it feels like you're going to like
Dude, it
break
feels like it's gonna
but-
break.
It's like okay, they're in, but it feels like I'm not gonna like snap them in half.
That's one of the
But-
reasons I didn't want to build my PC is just because like
Pre-builds
I,
are nice. Yeah.
I just don't have enough knowledge, and although I probably could have, because like I know people who like built PCs.
You really don't need that much knowledge for it. Like,
Yeah,
like,
I just didn't want to
they've made it so like
I just didn't want to
streamlined.
deal with it. I just wanted it to like come.
Sometimes
and
it's
just,
worth
like,
it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had
Honestly,
all the
yeah.
specs that I need.
It's like
for
I kind
sure.
of wish that I had just bought a pre-built at this point, so it was just such a headache.
But you got.
But
it
I mean,
done.
hey,
You
it's
got it done now.
Yeah, it's
so,
done. So
yeah.
yeah.
Now you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you got to learn all the other shit.
Yeah, well, that's the whole new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty dramatic learning curve when you're like doing all that stuff. But the thing that I firmly believe is if you want to do anything, the number one thing that you need is just the passion to do it.
Yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
passionate to build that computer.
Yeah,
And you made that
did
fucking
it.
thing
You
happen.
did it.
Yeah.
He might have
With
like,
help.
asked
With the help of your
100
friends.
questions. Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with asking questions.
For sure.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that-
As long
that's
as
just
you
a sign
answer
of
my
help your
question
friends.
first.
Yeah, to not
Dude,
to
one of
not
the
to not
greatest
ask
bands-
questions is a sign of
Yeah. I don't know.
dumminess.
Dumb,
We'll say.
big-
Ask
big
questions.
dumminess.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
For
If you think you're too good to ask someone a question, then you're big dumb.
Big dumb.
Big dumb.
Dude, one of the greatest bands ever had a saying. It was like, I get by with a little help from my friends. So, hey, man, that's how it is. And I get high with a little help from my friends.
Exactly.
So, greatest band of all time.
Oh,
Ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen. I'm so curious because you said like the last podcast you did, like you guys had a whole debate on it.
Wasn't really a debate, but we were talking about the Beatles for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't remember how it came up, but it's one of those
Hey,
things.
it happened
It's
again.
just now it's gonna be like a question in all your podcasts. You're just gonna be like, all right, guys,
It's a
what's your
staple.
opinion on the Beatles?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
Gotta get it out there real quick.
Yeah.
it's an interesting. It's just an interesting thing to think about.
It is.
Yeah,
like,
it
too,
brings
it's-
up a lot of like other stuff.
Yeah,
too.
it's one of those questions too where you feel you could ask anybody and they're like, "Oh, I've heard of the Beatles," but like
Yeah.
if you ask someone a question about like, "Oh, what do you think about Car Bomb?" They'd be
Yeah.
like, I've never heard of them. I don't know.
They're different
But
in contrast.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard of the Beatles in some capacity.
Yeah,
So
I'd say they're one of like the most known bands. Like
Yeah.
like you said, you could probably do a survey of like how many people. There would probably be a very like I can't even imagine
unless
someone
they
being like,
live under a
I never
rock.
heard of the Beatles.
Yeah,
What?
like
Yeah.
that's
Until you
just-
get to like the Zoomers that like don't know.
Oh
shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like wearing like Ramones t-shirts, thinking that it's like a fucking brand.
They'll probably have a damn Beatles
Yeah.
shirt on.
Or Nirvana. They're like, oh, yeah, this is my favorite brand of
Oh,
t-shirt.
yeah, I thought that was a clothing brand.
Yeah.
Nirvana.
I remember back when after I worked at Taco Bell, I graduated into consumer retail and
Okay.
worked for a place called Hot Topic.
Mm.
Oh.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it was not uncommon for people to come into Hot Topic
Mhm.
with like shoes that they just bought
Yeah.
and like trying to find shirts that would match the shoes.
Oh shit.
Like the
color palettes.
Okay,
Oh,
color.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And like things like that. So
Yeah.
a lot of it was just like nobody cared. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all right, if you want that Jacob Twilight shirt because it
Because it matches. I mean,
rock and
Hey,
roll.
sure. Yeah,
You
go
know,
for it,
that's
man.
kind of a hot fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Twilight shirt.
Oh yeah, man.
Fair enough.
Yeah. With the Osiris's.
Oh, yeah.
man.
I had Osiris.
Swear I did. Well, I was real into Supras too, but like
Supras are
I
cool.
never. I'm trying to think of like some of the other skate shoes.
I had Etnies.
Yeah,
Etnies,
I
a
have
lot.
heard of those.
I had
Yeah,
a couple
DC
of those.
shoes.
DCs were the ones that I was
Those are
thinking of that I
legendary.
liked a lot. I so wanted to be like a skater kid, but I like sucked at skating.
I
Like,
couldn't
so
even-
bad.
I used
couldn't
it for
even always.
transport, but I couldn't like do much.
Yeah,
I
I like
skateboarded
to-
everywhere.
I couldn't
But
fall
I,
off a
like, I didn't
skateboard,
really
but
do
I couldn't do
anything.
tricks on it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm the same
Yeah.
way. Like I would always just like cruise around, you
Yeah.
know, go
Mhm.
like with my friends and stuff. But
My friends could do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
same.
You could do like fucking like ollies off of like
yeah,
5-foot stairs.
same. And I'm over here like
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this ollie. Like
Yeah.
that's like all I could do. I could ollie and like pop shove it.
I couldn't even do
was
that,
it.
man.
Whenever we were kids, my brother was into skateboarding, and I was a bit of a dweeb, and I got into inline skating, and then I broke my thumb and quit.
Oh, no.
I mean, honestly, the same thing happened to me. Like when I was a kid, I was super duper into skating. Honestly, like skateboarding, inline skating, biking. Like whatever. I didn't have a
Yeah.
preference. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
down for
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, I broke my arm really, really bad when I was like, I don't know, like 10 or 11 or
Mhm.
something like that.
What were you doing when you broke your arm? Or you just
Nothing.
unrelated? Okay. Nothing.
I was on. I hit a. You ever like hit a rock and like
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
just like something real dumb and
you
just landed on it the wrong
fucked
way
yourself up.
and it was
Damn,
toast.
damn ass rock.
Yeah.
Damn
Did
ass
you-
rock.
Are you familiar
Damn
with the
ass
American alphabet?
I think so.
You ever seen the letter Z?
Yeah.
That's what my arm looked
That-
like.
Was it like?
It was a double compound fracture, so both bones
Uh,
here and both bones.
You've like
here,
an
so it was
extra joint in
Yeah.
your arm. Oh,
Oh fuck.
toast.
It's brutal.
So
like-
you were probably like, well, there goes my skateboarding
Well, I
days.
tried to skate a little bit after that, but it was
Yeah.
hard to like ever like look
the
at like, a
nerves,
set of steps
yeah.
and be like, oh yeah, I could go over that. I
Yeah.
can't even go
Yeah,
straight without hitting a rock.
for sure. That definitely. Once you get hurt doing something like that, it messes with your head. You're
yeah.
like,
It makes it really hard to want to keep
Yeah.
doing
Yeah,
it.
it
Like,
does.
For sure.
like having a bad spill on a skateboard or a bike. You're like,
yeah,
you really want to like do that to
Yeah.
stay,
Mad
like,
respect for anyone
to
who
tell
does
yourself,
get
I'm gonna
hurt
get up and do it
keep
again.
going.
It's
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't want that to happen again. But for some reason, after all of these years, I could still play a show in front of 3 people that don't care and still get back
Oh,
and try to play another show.
you're like,
So
this one's gonna be different.
That's
Literally.
yeah. I could deal with the mental trauma, just not the
Yeah,
physical
Not the
trauma, I
physical,
guess.
So,
yeah.
so if you had busted your arm during a show, it might be a little bit different.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like, fuck, I
Throw in
might
the
hurt
towel.
myself.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
never
during my my noise performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm never standing I'm never standing on like an ego riser again. Like you see those dudes that like bust themselves off like the riser. It's like, well, I'm never recovering from that. Like, that would suck.
We always call them the stairways to heaven.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Christcore bands that had those. They're really high, standing up on it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god.
Yeah.
You're not a Christian.
Dude, I don't know. Like I've never.
Dude, my
been-
friend showed me that band. The one time.
What was-
Creations.
Okay.
Yep.
I couldn't remember the
Mhm.
name of the band.
Yeah.
It was that Catatonics Youth that fucking.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
Oh, they
dude, I
picked it
love
up.
that
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
It's so fun to
good.
watch.
So good. This is always good.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with a friend about this recently, where it's like, trying to embrace the potential that like I really enjoy what I'm doing as a person, but
Mhm.
maybe it is cringe to the outside world.
To
Who knows?
someone.
I have
maybe.
no
Yeah.
idea. And it's
No
just
matter
like,
what you do.
am I gonna end up on Catatonic Youth's one?
Yo,
I
if
feel like
you
that's
do,
peak though. That's
Yeah.
peak right
dude,
there.
you made it.
Yeah,
I
you
feel
made
like if we like somehow made it on there, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I fucking made it.
I feel like too, as a band, if you like come across your band's like design or shirt being
Mhm.
sold on some like random
That too.
thing too, it's like,
Redbubble,
okay,
yeah.
I've made it.
Bootleg shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've made it. My CD album is on a bootleg T-shirt made
For
on
sure.
Cafe
Hell
Press.
yeah.
I made it.
There's some dude like in some third world country trying to profit off like my band's design
Like, hell
or something.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I guess that means something,
Totally.
Hell yeah.
So, as we round the corner on our hour here,
Mhm.
believe it or not,
Oh, fuck.
we've been chit chatting,
God dang.
my friends.
This was
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
So, what is Windchimes doing? You're in writing mode,
Writing
Mhm.
mode.
Yep.
and is it you thinking we doing like the singles route? You trying to do the full length route?
Full length.
Full
Is
length.
currently what we're trying to do.
Break some of it into singles. Like
Yeah.
we'll probably have like 3-4 singles maybe, and then like full album compiling those.
Yeah,
And it's definitely been interesting too, because it's like a bit of a genre shift, which is something that we've experienced
Yeah.
a few times,
Quite.
which I think is kind of like on account of the fact that like we've had a lot of member changes,
Mhm.
and
for
like
sure. That's
with
always
member
good.
changes comes
And on top of that, our
Inspiration
tastes
changes.
are like
and our tastes.
Fucking
Yes,
crazy,
we have a lot
yeah.
of like different tastes going on.
Yeah.
So it's like I've been trying to find ways to meld like my tastes into what we're trying to do, because like currently what we're trying to do is like definitely compared to like anything we've done before, it's a lot more on the death metal side. But like I'm still trying to keep that like the post metal that we had in the previous DP. I'm trying to keep that intact. So like trying to keep the like you got death metal and like trying to keep like little bits of post metal here and there is currently the goal.
yeah.
And it's definitely been like for me anyways, like trying to meld those two has been a bit of a challenge for me. But like the thing too is like, and something that I've realized too is like that's how you want to improve as a musician too, especially because like whenever whenever we're writing stuff, like
Mhm.
we're pushing ourselves a lot,
Always.
which is
Yeah.
definitely
You got
something
some
that has been
weird
so
ass
great. Because like
parts.
when you push yourself, like you look back and you're like, wow, like that has made me grown like as a musician.
That's for
like because like at the
yeah.
time you might be struggling.
Yeah, I think that's an overall goal for like probably all of us. Like with this new shit, like I want us to be like, you know, challenged, you know, and pushed like to a new level. Like with this, like I think that's something. If we can achieve that, just like on a personal level, like oh, you know, I played some really hard drum parts that were like I didn't think I could pull off, or like. You know, just I think there's a lot of room for you to like add some really cool bass stuff too, like
with the stuff we're working on right now.
Yeah, like that.
For sure, especially now that we're only one guitar now.
Yeah,
I feel like there's.
So we definitely really need to like supplement that with like a lot of shit
with the bass.
Yeah, for sure. Like that, because like we were saying, that Sun Eater album.
Yeah,
like, just the way the bass shines through that. Like,
exactly.
We could definitely have some. We wrote a part that like
even like Defeated Sanity kind of does that a lot.
Oh yeah, dude, bass is all over the place.
Yeah,
dude, you're gonna be starting fucking tapping.
I'm gonna be tapping. That's gonna be nuts.
You're not even gonna need a pick anymore.
No,
you're just gonna throw the pick out, start tapping.
Slap bass.
Yeah, you gotta slap and tap. That's not so bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think 3-4 singles. Full length EP or full length release, and then like you said, we're trying to hone down like what we're looking for in terms of sound and genre, keeping some of the stuff from the previous stuff and adding taste that we have right now.
Yeah, definitely,
because we all like the same shit, but we all have like very large tastes for music.
So it's sometimes hard to kind of like
hone down exactly what we wanted, because we like the same shit. Like it's not that like we have different tastes.
It's
just
like
we have
we're
such
large
tastes that it's kind of hard to pin down what exactly we want.
It's kind of a thing I worried about a little bit too, is like because we've been through so many genre changes, I'm like, oh man, like I hope that like it doesn't like, you know, turn some people off because we changed genres so many times.
Honestly,
well, like, it's not like complete genre changes either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that like overall we've still kept a similar thing. We've had minor tweaks as we went.
I mean, it's metal. You know, at the end of the day, it's metal. So like, you know, people are either gonna like it or they won't.
Right, and that's fine. Yeah. Exactly.
Because I have had that thought. It's like, okay, is this like too different than what we've done before?
But I mean, like, even with like the 2 new songs, like I feel like even those were kind of leaning into what we wanted to do.
They definitely were. The last 2 songs we put out, they were leaning into what we're trying to do.
And I feel like that's kind of like a precursor for the next stuff.
Definitely.
And I think those have landed so well that I think the new stuff will also do well.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely like the 2 singles are definitely different than the EP, like 100%.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know, is the stuff that we're writing now gonna be exactly like that? No. It's gonna be like a little bit different in its own.
A progression.
Yeah, progression.
Definitely.
So I think we're on the right path.
Yes.
I think we're finding our way.
Right.
For sure.
Well, that's beautiful.
I know it is, isn't it? It is beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy your band.
Thank you.
It's always good getting to see you, getting to play with you.
Yeah, we got
getting to hang out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Getting to talk for a bit.
For sure.
Sure.
Super rad.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was great.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah, it's good chat. Good times.
Good times.
With good
times
people.
here at the Start the Beat podcast.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Well, if you don't know, now you know. This is Windchimes. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Uh-oh. Where am I at? There I am. Hello. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Ryan. Start the Beat is the show. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Peace. And that's it. We did a podcast.
There we go.